Okay. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Regina.
How are you? Should we talk about
I'm
our?
We're talking books today. I can't wait. It's my favorite topic.
I'm gonna put our. I'm gonna. I just realized that if people are seeing the screen, they probably want to see both of our faces, not just yours.
Okay.
There.
No,
Now we're okay.
oh,
Here we are.
I've seen yours. Okay, great. So we're kind of new at this, but we thought we'd
We're all new here, so
we're
even if
we're
you're
all new.
for the first time, this is our inaugural book club meeting, our inaugural book Zoom, and this is the book we're talking about. Robin's gonna give us a little
Yeah,
run.
so I think we should say there's some spoiler alerts going into this. We won't give the ending away. It's a memoir,
We'll
so you
try
can
not to.
we'll try not to, but if you haven't read it, there are a few little spoiler things, but it's worth reading. So we both want you to do that, whether you've done it already or not. So the Salt Path is a memoir written by Raynor. What's her last name? Winn.
Win.
And so it starts out where Raynor and her husband Moth invest in a friend's company and lose everything. They invested their savings, mortgage, I think they mortgaged their house, whatever. They lost everything. And what happened was the friend came back to them and said, "You are going to be liable for expenses, the business's expenses." They went to court, they lost. So that kind of begins the memoir. So it starts out with that is their predicament, their inciting incident, if you will.
Mm.
So they decide to walk the southwest coast path through Wales up through. Virginia, you could probably give a better visual of it. I mean, I don't know where people are coming in from around the
Yeah,
globe.
so they started up north, didn't they? And then they went down around the end of the tip. So they went to Land's End, which is like so there is a map. There's a fancy little map at the beginning, which was super helpful, and then backs up
Oh,
the coast.
yeah. And they go to Land's End thinking they barely made it to Land's End. Yeah, there is a map. Yep, back it up a little bit.
Yeah,
There you
sorry, my there we
go. Yeah,
go.
there we go. So they start at the top in I think it's
Minehead.
Minefield, Minehead, and they walk down to Land's End, and then basically have to sort of, they thought that would be the end, the Land's End for them. And they reevaluate what they're going to do and start up the coast going north. They're going
It's
north
kind of
now.
north, yeah, but it's actually more, I would say it runs east-west, so they're going east.
Okay. So there's a lot of landscape, a lot of descriptive, beautiful writing about the coastline, lots of things like that. But they are an older couple. They're in their 50s. And right before they start this walk, they find out that Moth has an incurable disease. It's called CBD, and I think it stands for, I don't know if it,
I don't remember what it stands for.
yeah, it stands for corticobasal degeneration, where he's not supposed to be carrying heavy things, walk for long distances, and they do all of that in this book. So, on top of being pretty much homeless, and I would say that's sort of the guiding theme through the whole novel, walking towards something, and that's what they're trying to figure out. And based on being homeless, they had nowhere else to go. They had no their kid. They have two kids, and they're in college, and they're homeless. So that's how they start the walk. And we are going to.
I think that was like that's kind of like the worst nightmare scenario for so many people and not a pleasant thing to think about or to even like and kind of when you're reading this book I found that really difficult to kind of like bear witness to their strife and their struggle and just this kind of like total and complete uncertainty. It was
Yeah.
really like it made me really, yeah, it just made me really sad for them. I mean, it's a beautifully written book, but I just felt that they were so brave. So, so, so brave. And it was because of that, I think it was, all the more touching of a memoir.
Yeah, and I think too, we briefly talked a little bit while we were both reading the book. In the beginning, it's hard to get through because I think that judgment comes up a lot. Like, how could you do that? How could you invest all your money and
Yeah.
savings, everything with this? They don't even talk about the friend, like what happened there, but because that's not really the story. That's kind of what propelled them on this journey, and Moss' illness too. It was sort of like, I'm going to fight this illness, and we're going to fight our predicament, being homeless,
And that
penniless.
and that too was like also another choice they were making, right? It was like they're going against the doctor's decision, or the doctor's advice, saying like you shouldn't be walking, you shouldn't be carrying heavy things. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, here you go again. Like you're doing something that could be really detrimental to your life.
yeah,
And I'm with you, Robin. Like I was just like, these people, like, what are they doing?
yeah. And I think that's it. They go against the grain on every little aspect of it.
Hmm.
They're camping wild, so they have to, like, sort of like, scurrying in the night, trying to like set a tent up on could be somebody's property, couldn't be, could not be, that they didn't know. Everything was, we'll just wait and see, like one step in front of the other, and we'll just wait
Yeah.
and see. It is exasperating. Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then I think by the time you get up to the absolute, I mean, I think the actual coastline is kind of like a, it sort of follows the narrative arc of the book. You're here and they're kind of going downhill, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're exhausted, they're tired. They don't bathe or anything. They swim.
Hmm.
She talks about her hair being like a
Oh, rat's nest.
bird's nest. He's aching, he's out of pain pills. I mean, it is like a friggin' nightmare. And you're looking at these people or reading about them saying, oh my God, stop, stop. There's other options here.
Yeah.
But I think there were no other options. And she's really good about kind of laying that out. Like when
Yeah.
you're getting frustrated, they're frustrated. And when they start to get hopeful in the book, you get hopeful. So you really go on this journey with them, which is really,
Hmm. Oh, I totally
it's,
felt like I walked the salt path.
yeah, I was trying to think, like she's got blisters, like her toenails falling. I mean, it kind of reminded me, we talked about like other books that are walking sort of
Yes.
books.
Yes.
Cheryl Strayed's Wild was one of them. And I just finished a book, Heartwood by Amity Gage, it was on here, my desk here. This book, there's a person lost on the Appalachian Trail, so it's a whole
Mm.
different thing. But it is sort of a survivor story. And this other one, this unlikely pilgrimage of Harold Fry. I think this is English as well. I think
Okay. I don't know
it's an
that one. Okay.
this one, my other book club read, which is not the Sometimes book club, but a monthly book club, and it was years ago. So this is a older book, comes out in paperback. That's a really good one too. And this is fiction. So is Heartwood, Wilde's memoir as well. So they're the ones I could think about. But the themes in the book, homelessness, identity, belonging, they're big, big
And
themes.
just not knowing what to do about something, or just grieving, and that idea of like, I think there's a Latin saying like walking resolves everything. Uh, I can't remember. I'll find it and I'll include it in the email. But oh man, I can remember it off the top of my head. It's but anyway, this idea that like when you have something that you need, questions that need answering, when she does talk about that at the end of the book, to go on a walk and kind of seeking that inner part that holds the answers to your questions externally, and through movement, and kind of like access as a way to like access the wisdom of the body. I found
Yeah.
that like a really obviously extremely cathartic for them because clearly they were grieving their old life. They were grieving this loss of their house, the past. They were grieving potential death. Like she's grappling with the fact that he might, just keel over while they're walking.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think I haven't read those two books that you just showed us, but I read Wild by Cheryl
Hmm.
Strayed, and yeah, hers, of course, she was grieving her mother's death.
Right.
Um, and yeah, that it was an amazing it was interesting to look at the two different stories. Um,
Yeah.
but clearly there's a lot of truth and well, if you have a problem, just go take a long hike.
I think there's a line in the book that it's something about control, like they had control of their lives on the path, on the salt path. They did, and I think the salt comes in to, from they're always covered in sea salt, like everything's salty. Like, is that
The
where the
air, yeah, everything.
yeah,
I don't
everything,
think
the
they ever
mist, the
stop being
fog,
salty.
the rain, everything, they feel like they're never cleared of the salt. So that's sort of, that's kind of a metaphor for their journey as well, and the title, obviously. But there was a line that said they had control of their lives on the trail, but not in civilian life.
Mm.
And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I wrote it or they wrote it, but I truly believe that. Like people who get on that, I mean, it's like you're walking and people are like, it's not like just a walk in the park, so to speak. Like you're
Hmm.
looking at the scenery and you're enjoying it. Now there were a lot of people, hikers that they ran into, backpackers, or what do they call them? Packers? I
Yum,
forget what the
yum, yompers. Yompers
okay.
were clearly people they didn't really like because they were just like backpacking for the weekend or for 4 or 5 days at a
That's what I
time.
mean. Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of like the people do. You throw it on and you're heat sticks and you're like doing it with your dog or whatever. They ran into a lot of people like that. But I found it interesting how the ageism was a thing too, where they would come across other people on the path and they would say, "Oh, I wish I had that much time. I wish I had
Mhm.
that much time on my hands to walk." And the minute they said, "Oh, no, no, we're homeless," they sort of indicated like, we have nowhere else to go. This is why we're doing this. People were just like moved on. Like they just were so uncomfortable.
Well,
And
that and yeah, that and the one word that changed everything. It was either we lost our home or we sold our home. And that
exactly.
flipped the whole script. Like they went from being either people who, should be admired and envied, like you said, like, oh, I wish we had the time, or they were people to be like avoided and shunned.
Yeah. And I thought people were kind of, I was really disappointed in humanity
Me too.
in this.
Me too.
I mean, where they went to get water and they were going to, charge them for getting water out of I mean, it was just, you guys can read this and figure out how you feel about it. But I was so disappointed in humanity in this
Yeah,
book.
until the end. Well, there was a few people in there. There was
There
a
were
few.
a few, yeah, it wasn't all hopeless, but I would say I would read it and I was like, really? Really? You're going to charge them
I
for like
know.
leftover food or, you know what I mean? It was like crazy. It was crazy to me, but
Yeah, and I think it also kind of highlights that like myopic way that humans just don't, well, we don't know the whole picture. We don't see the whole picture. We don't know, it's like if you're working in a cafe or something and two people come in, you don't know their story. But it's so easy for people to just see that one thing and it's like, oh, well, this water costs this much, so I'm going to charge these people this much instead of trying to maybe figure out what's going on and maybe they're really in need. I don't know, it's that's what I kind of got out of it was like, okay, well, we all have our own little world that we're in and theirs, we had been a part of theirs because we're reading their story, but like everyone has that different background and different places where they're coming from. And I guess we only see through the eyes that we have. So
yeah. And to be like, they're hiking and they're dirty and they're haven't had a bath and all the way people treated them. They would come into like civilization, to get more money. They're dwindling their little pen. Oh my God, they lived on nothing, you guys. Absolutely
nothing.
nothing. It was the, what do you call it? And it was like sort of their um, welfare payment. And I mean, I don't know what you would call it.
I don't
And
remember what it was, but it was something
yeah,
like,
they would go to an ATM machine in these bigger cities to withdraw their 30, 40 pounds. That's literally they lived on for like weeks or days, 2 weeks or 12 days on a, just barely nothing. They lived on noodles. I mean, their diet was atrocious, fudge bars. They had no money. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I think that was also really excruciating to sort of
oh,
uh, go through with them in a, and to witness that like absolute desperation when you really, I think most people can potentially, I mean, maybe not to that degree, but like we all remember being a student and not having any money and like having to wait till our parents sent us something or just living on a budget. But like that was, when you're really wanting that extra dollar, extra pound. Didn't she
yeah.
lose like 1 pound at some point? She lost something. She was like it went down the drain or something like that, and she couldn't get it back.
Yeah, 1 pound. And then they had extra money and bought these pasties and they were eating them.
And the seagull. Oh my God.
Gull, the gull swoops in and whoosh, right out of her hand. It was like such a treat to get like a hot pasty or whatever. I felt so sorry for them.
And then he
Every,
went and bust to buy her another one. I was
yeah,
like, that
yeah.
was true love.
And Moth was giving stuff away. I mean, what they had, he was offering food to somebody, a homeless guy. I mean, he was always offering something. They were just a couple where you admire them, but I can see how you're like, how can I mean, how can you live like this? Like that sort of, they come into a town and people would just stand away from them. I don't, because of they hadn't showered or they looked homeless or it was really, I mean, it gave you a different perspective because I
Mhm.
think at least I'm in Michigan in the US, and I know our homeless is treated like you walk around them. They're addicts. They've done something bad, and that's why they're homeless, right? I don't feel that way, but there's a lot of people who do. Um, and you can see that through the eyes. That's what I thought. The takeaway from this book is you can see through the eyes of someone, coherent and writing all this down
Yeah,
that
and
we're not addicts. We're not these people. We are homeless people because of systematic and bad choices, the system and the bad choices and things we've done, but what other people have done to us.
yeah, and
Uh,
I thought that was really interesting the way she touched on it and she talked about the homeless statistics in the UK and how like they actually have to count the people sleeping on the streets. And
yeah,
she was saying like it's not reflective. And at the end she does say like there's over 280,000 households that are considered homeless in the UK. And, she's saying like a very, very small portion of them are actually addicts. They're homeless because of circumstance and they need help, just like immigrants need help. And I think she poses that like it's a very visual image. She says, like, if all the homeless people in the UK were on a ship coming into England, would we be welcomed? Would we be treated with the same respect and, kind of inclination to be cared for as other people from other countries that also don't have a place to live. So yeah, just it poses a lot of really like tough questions that I don't know that I have ever thought about. Um,
yeah. I've never read a memoir novel. I mean, I've read articles, like magazine articles, but never this from the perspective on a journey like this from a homeless person, which feels, um,
there's another book that I read that touched on homelessness. Sorry, I
yeah.
interrupted you. You said, what is
No,
it
no,
called?
no, no, go ahead.
Um, Nick Flynn, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Remember
Mm,
that? So
yeah.
that's like his dad, he doesn't know his dad. He knows his dad is homeless in Boston in the winter. And he worked for the homeless shelter and literally part of their job was to go around and check the bodies because everyone would die overnight if they were outside. And so they would have to check. So he was looking for his dad. So it's like a thrilling way to like enter into a novel, or sorry, into a memoir because it's a true story. But that was like I think that was the first book I ever read about. Oh, and then there's The Glass Castle.
I was just thinking of that. I was going to mention that there is a scene in the Glass Castle, and that also is a memoir where the Janet, is it
Jeanette
Wilkerson?
Wells. I think it's Jeanette
Or,
Wells.
oh, yeah, I get the names. They're both authors. She's in a limo in New York City, I think, and they're at a stoplight, and she sees her mom, who's homeless,
Hmm.
on the streets of New York City, homeless.
Hmm.
And it just blew me away. Like, and the car just goes by, and I mean, we're not going to give it away. You should read that one. It's
That's
just
a
so,
fabulous book.
that's a fabulous book. Forgot about that one. And this is kind of a spoiler alert, but just to touch on the homeless, because I do think that's a big part of this book. And whatever you feel about homelessness, like, oh God, I don't sound so. You need to read this book because it puts so much in perspective. There's like I said, spoiler alert, where it towards the end of the book, where these people are kind enough on the trail where they take them. I think it's raining sideways, or I can't remember.
Hmm.
They take
Hmm.
them, remember that, in a van to their um, campground where it's all homeless
Hmm.
people on this property, and they've been doing this for years, and
Hmm.
people come and go as they please, but you can't, they have all these rules, somewhat like, shelters, homeless shelters. You can't
Yeah.
drugs, you can't do all these things. But they stayed there. I think it was just one night, maybe, or maybe a couple nights. I can't remember. And I think it's because Moth, they had something going on with his health.
Hmm.
It's vague on those details. But that to me sort of exemplified that whole feeling of what homeless people really feel. That it world like a worldview. You're seeing this whole journey through Ray and Moth's vision through their eyes, and then you see other people out there and how they feel about it. It really is. I mean, it's the political, it's the nobody can get ahead in this economy. I mean, it kind of touches on all that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And just that idea that just that the way they're so marginalized
marginalized is right.
and
And
stigmatized.
don't let that be like, I know there's so much, people's heads are ready to explode with so much information overload and dread and angst and, all of that.
And
I,
sadness.
and sadness and
But
sadness. And
but but the thing about this is it does have, I mean, I think I'm gonna just read this one. I loved it. I think I burst into tears. I'll probably cry right now. She chose hope. She wrote that on the last page. It's like, oh yeah, she said, so she talks about like walking this path. I'm not gonna read it because I'll cry, but oh yeah. At last I understood what homelessness did for me.
mm,
Had what homelessness had done for me. It had taken every material thing that I had left and stripped me bare. Oh,
I know.
uh, so sweet. It's like profound. A blank page at the end of a partly written book. It had also given me a choice, either to
Mm.
leave the blank page or to keep writing the story with hope. I chose
And
hope.
she did. She wrote this story. That's the beautiful part of it.
The fact that she would go on another journey like that to just like write the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we won't give away like how much of the trail they did or what happens at the end, but it is hopeful. So when you start out and you're like pulling your hair, like, oh my God, these people, what have they done? You do end up like at
You
the
end
end.
up having a nice little cathartic cry.
I know this. I know this because I know the passage because I highlighted it too. Really is sort of the essence of the whole book. But
Well, that's what got me starting to think about like, okay, so what's my salt path? Like, if we have this choice to like continue writing the story of our lives, what is it that we would choose? And how, maybe we don't all have the dire circumstance of being homeless, but thankfully. But, what is the salt path for you? And like at what point? do you, make that crazy decision that's like completely not the right thing to do,
No.
for your health and for your life and yeah, so I just was thinking about that, like it really got me thinking about what my soul path. I have no idea.
And I think this goes back. I mean, walking to on a journey um, to take stock of your life or to think, to get out of your head and be in nature
Mm,
and against the elements and against your physical capacities and pain. I mean, it is, as old as the pilgrimages people took, religious pilgrimages they took. I mean, that's the um, El Camino. I
yeah,
mean, there's a ton of them through Europe. I know. Here our religious paths are usually through, the Pacific coast,
and the Appalachian Trail you were saying
and
too.
the Appalachian Trail. There are things that people do here too, but the go in Europe, going back centuries and centuries, people did walk.
The
They
Camino de
walked.
Santiago.
Yes.
There's the Pilgrim's Trail that starts in Canterbury and goes all the way through and down through Italy to Rome. Um, yeah, so it's Salvatore Ambulando. I just looked it up. Salvatore Ambulando. It's the Latin phrase for walking solves everything.
Oh, it
So
does
it's
walk.
not a novel concept. It's something that, like, you know, we've, like you said, it's ancient, but yeah, I definitely have always wanted to do the Camino de Santiago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's another one. What, uh,
I don't know. Was the Costa Brava like a pilgrimage walk? That's
the
along the
trail.
Mediterranean.
Yeah, there's a nice trail along there. I don't know, it might be. Oh my gosh, there is another book about the Camino de Santiago. I feel like I read it. I can't remember it now, right now.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
It's I think I don't know. I think I understood the reasons they were walking. I
yeah.
was of course, the thing when I've walked and hiked, um, I feel it's like I could get in a van and go to a hotel, you know. I mean,
Immediately.
it's a whole different set of circumstances, and that's the juxtaposition, right, of lives. Like, I'm walking for a reason, so are Ray and Moth
We
walking.
hiked in a desert together once. Remember
We
that?
walked up in the little canyon in Tucson, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Um, I mean, and then the sense of the belonging part in this was really, I think, um, that got to me more than anything. How they had this identity, and
Yeah.
then it was stripped from them. They had a farm, they had this lovely, quaint life in Wales, and then it was all gone. And they had worked so hard for that because they didn't come from a lot. I mean, I think she grew up on a farm, so I mean, they had
Mhm. Yeah.
backgrounds that made them survive a little bit more than the average, like, you know,
Yeah.
puffy, white girl trying to do it like me on a trail, that have I have 400 count cotton sheets or something. You know what I mean? Um, they knew about animals and trails and,
Yeah.
picking berries and to eat and all this stuff. I would die out there. Okay. I would absolutely die, but maybe not. That's the
I
thing.
think
It's
you
resilience.
would. I don't think you would.
Resilience comes through when you're in these circumstances. It
Hmm.
really tells you who you are
Hmm.
when you're facing like a hill and it's pouring rain and you're thinking to yourself, why am I doing this? What's the point? And they ask those questions in the beginning of this book. By the end, you will know what their reasons and what
Yeah.
they learned from the journey.
Yeah.
Um, so without giving a lot of that away, but you do when you come up to against a metaphorical hill in your life or going down a hill, and the shitstorm coming into your life. I mean, whatever it is, it's I mean, it's all the same thing. It's just physical, mental, physical and mental, what they did, it's a lot of mental anguish for
What's your
people.
salt path? What is it? Is it
What is your salt
what is your
path?
salt path? We only
Yes,
have 5 minutes left, so I wanted to quickly say, well, whatever else we want to say about this, and then also perhaps announce the next book that we're going to read.
I would
You've
love
already,
that.
I don't think you've read it. You haven't read it yet, but so do we have anything else to say about our Salt Path book before we move on?
What is cream tea? Would you please explain
Cream
to me what
tea is yeah, it's tea with like cream that you put in it.
they say they
But
eat cream tea?
they
Does that
they
mean they're dunking something into it?
well, they'll probably have like a scone or something that goes with it. Some with, the what do they call it? Uh
Fatty? Like a,
no, what do they call it? I'm drawing a blank. I'll think about it in a minute. What do you put on scones? You put jam and that white stuff that's not very
oh, creme fraiche?
no, clotted cream. Clotted cream. So clotted cream and tea is what you would
Okay.
have. It's like a cream tea. I actually don't know. I live here, but I don't do that. The other day I thought it meant about making iced tea. I was like, it's just a lot
But
of work.
I mean, that was a luxury. Like when they said eating, because that's how the verb they use, eating cream tea. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
eating. So it would probably like tea time. You have tea and cakes and all that. I think that's what
they had nothing.
they had nothing. Yeah, they would
They just,
virtually eat.
they watched, oh yeah, to your point, they were watching people eat cream tea. So that to your point, they probably had other food with them when they were doing that. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, so there's a lot in this book and it is so worth the read. And
And if you don't have time to read it, they did make it's I think it's on Amazon. Jeanette what's her name? Oh my gosh, what's her name? I'm having a hard time. Today's one perimenopause, zero Regina today. What's her name? She's Jillian. She's the lead. So she plays Raynor Winn. Um,
oh, Jillian, yes, I know who you're talking about. She was in
X-Files.
X-Files. Oh gosh, I can't
Anyway,
think of her last name either. Yes, I know who you're talking
she's
about.
in it with somebody else. It's like a great cast, but
Oh my God. All right. So I think Moth is played by the father in the recent Lotus
oh,
series.
okay, nice.
I think he had the Southern drawl in White Lotus, but I think he's an English actor, maybe
Okay.
Irish, but he is hot.
I
So
watched the trailer and I cried again. So if you want a good like cathartic teardrop,
yeah,
I
there
think
is
it's
a
coming
movie.
out in a
Good
couple
point.
weeks.
There is a movie. I haven't been able to. I haven't really pursued it, but the first time I did, I couldn't find it. But I think it might be out now,
It
streaming.
no,
Really.
it's not because we checked yesterday.
Oh, it's not
Well, at least
streaming.
it's not out here. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
you can find it somewhere. And real quick before we get cut off here, I will let you know that our next book is called Saltwater by Katie Hayes. So we're following along with the salt theme.
Hmm.
That's a fictional thriller. And yeah, we'll probably do a little chat about it in September. I'm going to stretch it a little bit because summer is kind of hard and August is tough. So
Yeah.
it,
Is that the one about
it
Italy?
takes place in Capri, a murder,
Uh,
a murder
yeah.
mystery, kind of like who done it, right?
More coastline. It's great if you can't get away to a beach this summer, you can do it with the salt water. Is it just salt water,
It's
not
called
the salt?
Saltwater. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
it's gotten
Saltwater.
great reviews, just awesome reviews. And
Yep.
again, if you really want to go on another journey, this, read the Salt Path if you haven't. But those are good ones too. If you're like, what else can I read? I want to take another journey.
Just ask us. We can give you lots of, yeah. So we
Oh
talk
yeah,
about,
how do can they DM or something? And I'm
Mhm.
happy to
Yep.
give them
Send us
other.
a little message on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah,
But the
and you
Glass
know what?
Castle and Another Bullshit Night in Suck City. If you love the homeless theme, which I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's actually so some of those. Well, some of them are homeless, but I mean, yeah, I guess
The
all of
theme,
them,
the
most of
theme.
them don't have a place to go home to. So that,
We're gonna carry on the salt theme because this next one is gonna be a little bit more. I think it's a little lesser. Okay, we have less than a minute to
all
go.
right.
Thank you, Robin, so much for
Thank
your.
you, everyone.
Thank you, thank
Hope
you.
you enjoy the book and let us know what you think, really.
Yeah, write to us.
Write to us. We would love it.
Happy
Have a
reading.
great summer.
Bye.
Bye.